Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is D Free, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Love. Say what's good, man.
What's up?
Hey, so today we're going to be talking about the Universe 6 arc. So spoilers, if you guys have not seen the arc in general or the last few episodes, the conclusion of the arc, we're going to be talking about it and whether or not the arc would have worked better as a movie. Not to say that they can't come back and make a movie based around that arc later on in the future if they want to, or not to say that they shouldn't have, incorporated it into Dragon Ball Super or anything like that, but just looking at that arc as a whole, whether or not they should have done that. And honestly, I think that arc would have worked really well as a movie. And what kind of made me think about this is I saw the latest episode today, or probably a couple days ago at the point where you guys are seeing this. I saw the latest episode and I was like, this really seems like the conclusion to a movie. The way that they had the OST in there, the soundtrack, the way it all kind of flowed and all that stuff, it seemed like it would have worked really well as a movie. And then I thought back to like the whole tournament as a whole. In hindsight, it seemed like, it would have fit better in like an hour to hour and 20-minute type of gap, because they kind of tried to stretch it in places where it didn't need to be stretched, and they kind of rushed it in places where it could have had a little bit more expansion, in my opinion. So that's pretty much where I came from. I think that, a lot of this would have flowed really well, and it would have benefited from a higher budget, of course. Not just to say that Dragon Ball Super has a low budget and low bad animation, things like that. I don't really care about that, but I think that this would have been really awesome. Imagine, like, for example, the Kaioken times 10 with the new animation from the movie budget and all that shit. Everything they could have done with this, especially the Hit versus Goku fight exclusively, all the things they could have done with that, and the Magetta and Vegeta, which is really good, and the Kaba fight. So I think that it would have been really awesome as a movie, Love.
Would you have preferred if it was a movie, or do you like it as a series and just think a movie could have worked?
Honestly, the thing about that is I think that all this stuff that they're trying to do would have probably fit better in movies just in general. When you look at the movies, the only thing I really like better that Super has done is the Battle of God stuff. The Resurrection F stuff, the movie blows it out the water. I think a movie for this Universe 6 tournament could have blown it out the water. So just in general, I would prefer the movies, but it's still fun having a weekly medium to watch it on.
Because, like, I know that before episode 41, I didn't really see it as being a movie, but mainly the ending of like how 41 wrapped itself together with like the whole arc, I was just kind of like, maybe it could have worked as a movie actually, because like prior to then I was just like, no, this is too much to have like packed in one movie. But then again, it's like they put Battle of Gods and they stretched that out, but that still worked as a movie. Resurrection F wasn't as stretched out, but that worked just fine as a movie. So this one probably could have worked too. Plus, didn't they have they didn't finish the tournament in a movie, but wasn't there like in like Fusion Reborn or something where they actually had a tournament like in the movie?
I do not recall.
It was something, or was it like a Dragon Ball one? I don't remember. I think no. BoJack Unbound was a good one. They had
They had the tournament in that one, but it got interrupted.
Nonetheless, though, they still it was really action packed and like based on the tournament overall. Even though like you said, it got interrupted, but still. At first, I didn't really see this arc, like, in terms of the fighting, being able to be put into a movie without them making it more than, like, 5 to 10 minutes. But they probably could have. They could have made it, because Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, weren't those, like, about, like, an hour 30-ish within that range?
Yes, basically. But what they would have done was they would have started off by setting up, like, Champa coming, and they're saying Tiberius' planet while those guys were there, just like they did in the show. And then the revelation that they want to have a tournament because the Earth and all that other petty stuff those guys did. That's where they would have set it up, and that would have took them probably 15-20 minutes doing that, and then also choosing who's going to compete. And then they've got to have the hyperbolic time chamber stuff. They've got to travel to the planet, which would have been maybe another 10 more minutes. So they could have made it work, because those fights were not very long in general, but they would have woven them in together with the Goku and Hit fight being the main chunk of the fighting, maybe about 15-20 minutes of a fight, So that could have been about an hour and 20 minutes. And then I like the ending mainly. The ending is where mainly all this comes from, because the episode of Super actually tied off that arc really well. I was actually kind of impressed because, they had Majin Buu come back. They were like, oh, sorry, I slept for forever. They had the reveal with Monaka being some sort of worker for Beerus. He's just basically a guy that's there to push Goku to a higher level, basically to, motivate him. Yeah, basically. And, they had those guys going back to Earth and all this other stuff. It kind of worked really well. And also, to kind of take it a step further, you've got Zeno saying, hey, I enjoyed this. Let's do this again. That could have transitioned into a whole nother movie. So I think it would have worked really well. And they could have the timing would have been a little bit timey-wimey, but they could have fixed it, stretching it out earlier on, which is what they probably would have done. If you look at Battle of Gods, that's what they did in the first place, to where the action was on the tail end of the movie, last 20-30 minutes or whatever. So
they could have like pulled like a Resurrection F type of thing, where like they do a little manga thing to where it's like a few chapters or whatever, kind of like to show some earlier details or whatever to like help promote it. But then if you want to see like the rest of it, like actual like the story of how it happens, you go and see the movie, as in like with, you know, maybe the Beerus and Champa meeting and all that other stuff that they showed in between. Well, once the new content came, that could have been packed in the manga, but then it's like when the movie goes, they could have like some of those details, but then it starts going into like when they actually gather the fighters and then the tournament itself, and then like, you know, the ending and stuff like that. There's a lot of ways they could have done it now that I'm really thinking about it, but, you know.
I think it would have turned out pretty well, but I want to know you guys' thoughts in the comment section, you know, whether or not this would have worked out as a movie, or if you think it would have worked better as a movie as opposed to how it worked in the show. You know, and once again, I don't want to talk about bad animation or things like that, but the reality is they'd have a higher budget, they'd have better animators and things like that, so the fights could be a lot better and they'd be a lot, you know, a lot more epic, basically. So I want to know what you guys think about that, but thank you for joining me today, Love. It was definitely a pleasure, man.
Oh yeah, no problem. There were more things that I noticed discussing this now than I did like prior to doing this video.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear. Well, everybody here, I want you guys to just check out Dr. Love's channel. He does some awesome content over there. If you guys enjoy my content, you guys will definitely enjoy his content over there. But that's it for us, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.